Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom throw in the towel.
Our heroes and heroines keep faith with those they love. They don't throw in the towel when trouble rears its head.
Don't give up. There were several times my first year I wanted to throw in the towel. I was getting pushback from administrators, other teachers, parents, and students.
Even if you had 50 censors, you could not possibly watch all the shows here, so they just sort of throw in the towel, and there is no censorship at the Edinburgh Fringe.
To admit that you have been defeated and stop trying.
3 of the original 5 candidates for the Democratic presidential nomination have now thrown in the towel.
After hours of struggling with the complex math problem, Jane decided to throw in the towel.
Frustrated by repeated failures in the experiment, the scientist was tempted to throw in the towel.
Идиома означает прекратить попытки что-то сделать, потому что вы поняли, что у вас ничего не получится.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom learn the ropes.
Someone was needed to sort of learn the ropes basically and help carry a camera equipment and shoot a few things, and it was back in about early May that I received the offer and I said yes to it, and then it all took off from there basically.
We explored, and the more we explored, we found that actually the majority of people who try to make films never get their first film made. And of the people who make their first films, the vast majority never actually make their second films. It felt like an uphill task to learn the ropes in an industry where we didn't know anybody and where nobody knew us.
So this means to learn the basic tasks that allow you to do your job well and efficiently. You know, like how to use the photocopier, how to use the company's email system, who to call if your computer won't start, who you report to, and which meetings you need to attend. All of the simple things that take a week or 2 to get used to when you start.
To learn how to do a job or activity.
As a professional, you have to constantly learn the ropes in order to do really well in your career.
My father believes that to be successful one must first spend considerable time learning the ropes.
New employees need time to learn the ropes of company procedures.
Идиома подразумевает процесс изучения основ или тонкостей чего-либо, особенно в контексте обучения или приобретения новых навыков.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom a bolt from the blue.
Lockdowns were a bolt from the blue, and so the government stood behind everybody and replaced household incomes to an extraordinary degree.
I was very upset and just kept thinking of his future. But it was like a bolt from the blue. I had no warning.
So one of our team came up with an idea for a How Northern Are You quiz. The whole office jumped on it. Now, occasionally you might get an idea that arrives fully formed in your head, like a bolt from the blue, a complete plan unfolding in your brain.
An event or a piece of news which is sudden and unexpected, a complete surprise.
Her dismissal came as a bolt from the blue.
We always thought of Michael as a lifelong bachelor, so it was a bolt from the blue when he returned from his vacation sporting a wedding ring.
One day, out of the blue, she announced that she was leaving.
Идиома и bolt from the blue используются для обозначения неожиданного события, которое может удивить или шокировать. Идиома out of the blue используется, когда что-то происходит внезапно. Хоть обе идиомы означают похожие вещи, они не взаимозаменяемы и не могут быть использованы в тексте без внесения изменений в предложения, в которых они фигурируют.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom oops a daisy.
Nobody panic, but I appear to be losing control.
Yeah, I love you.
Oops, Daisy.
Guys, ladies and gentlemen, while I deal with this awkward moment, you go and find your parents/guardians. Try in lamps.
Oops-a-daisy. We can just shorten it down to oops. It is quite frequently used with children.
Something said to young children when they fall over, an exclamation of surprise or of apology, as after doing something clumsy.
Hey, watch it, you're spilling the coffee.
Oops-a-daisy, let me get a cloth to clean that up.
Oops-a-daisy, I tripped over my own shoelaces and landed in a heap on the floor.
Ooh, Tommy the toddler, fallen over again, have you? Never mind, oops-a-daisy and let's try again.
Данная идиома обычно используется в общении с детьми, особенно после того, как они падают, чтобы успокоить их. Взрослые также используют ее в неформальной обстановке, чтобы выразить удивление, сожаление или беззаботное отношение к незначительной ошибке.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom shrinking violet.
The Honda Civic Type R has never been a shrinking violet. It's an aggressive, snorting beast whose rivals include some of the very best hot hatchbacks on sale today.
Comedian and podcast host Joe Rogan is no shrinking violet, especially when it comes to hot topics. Case in point, the long and arduous defamation trial that is Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
A shrinking violet. A shrinking violet is somebody who is very, very, very shy. Somebody who doesn't like to express their views and their opinions.
A person who is very shy or modest and does not like to attract attention.
She loves appearing on television and is no shrinking violet when it comes to expressing her views.
Some of the world's greatest thinkers and writers were once described as shrinking violets in their younger days.
It's ironic that the CEO, a booming personality now, was once considered a shrinking violet.
Идиома используется для описания человека, который предпочитает избегать внимания или оставаться на заднем плане, потому что он очень застенчив или скромен.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom a chip off the old block.
The name Doolin is synonymous with baseball in Memphis in the Mid-South. Tim Doolin is a former professional baseball player in the Orioles organization and a standout at then Memphis State. Dalton Doolin, Tim's son, is a chip off the old block.
Check out this bud. It's a clone sprouting right from the hydra's side. Hydra can reproduce sexually too, but most often they just clone themselves. Chip off the old block. Hydra are constantly regenerating their own bodies too, replacing all of their cells every 20 days.
Montague was about to find out that the daughter of Thomas Randolph was a chip off the old block. Montague and his troops arrived to lay siege to the castle and its skeleton staff on the 13th of January 1338.
A person who is very similar to their mother or father in the way that they look or behave.
Mike's automotive repair skills really rival those of his father. He's a real chip off the old block.
A chip off the old block, young Emily displays the same artistic talent and passion for painting as her renowned artist mother.
She's old school and proud of it, a chip off the old block of her mother who taught her everything.
Идиома используется для описания кого-то, кто сильно напоминает своего родителя по характеру, манере поведения или способностям.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom tie the knot.
However, just as they are about to tie the knot, Juliet's cousin goes to fight Romeo and force him to break up with lovely Juliet.
The ceremony taking place at a checkpoint in Kiev. They've been together for 20 years and never saw any reason to tie the knot, but a military invasion does tend to focus the mind.
But the hen do and the stag do are designed to celebrate their last moments of freedom, their last moments of living as singletons before they tie the knot and become a married couple, bound to each other for the rest of their lives.
To get married.
We got engaged last year, but we're not going to tie the knot until we graduate from college.
They tied the knot in a private ceremony and flew off to their honeymoon without much ado.
It was hard to find somebody to tie the knot.
Идиомы используются для описания акта бракосочетания или непосредственно акта вступления в брак.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom gravy train.
Since they're not directly accountable to the tax-paying public, EU politicians and bureaucrats have understandably been more than generous to themselves in pay and perks. This is the much talked about Brussels gravy train. And here's my handy guide.
And as a final word, I'd say don't be reluctant to challenge and try and out-innovate some of the incumbents in some of these big spaces. So with that, I will leave you with the gravy train that we all hope to ride.
The average relocated witness receives a total of $60,000 from the government. But don't expect the gravy train to last forever. By 6 months, the government expects you to have landed a job in the area and be sustaining yourself in your new living situation.
An easy way of making money without doing much work, often dishonestly.
Conferences are seen as a gravy train by many organizers who charge exorbitant rates for poor services.
The cleaning job seems to be a gravy train. We are offered $7 an hour.
My brother ended up on the gravy train when he married his wife, whose family owns one of the largest oil companies in the world.
Идиома относится к ситуации, которая предполагает получение постоянного и значительного притока денег, льгот или преимуществ при минимальных затратах усилий или работы. Часто используется для описания легкого финансового успеха.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom on the ball.
And you've got to be very sharp and on the ball. And a lot of it is sensibility, like I say, where you have a good team of guys and girls in the kitchen, and there's that look, it's that sensibility, it's a nod.
So really what we're looking at in the session is how when athletes turn up to training or they have a competition, they have to be on the ball. They have to be able to perform at their best at that time.
She was really on the ball and asked me lots of relevant questions about my past experience.
To be aware of and understand what is happening and be able to react quickly to new trends, ideas, and methods. In American football and basketball, if you are on the ball, you have control of it.
The mother is glad to know that her son is always on the ball to learn new things in class.
This article about the current problems of the nation is right on the ball.
I'm on the ball. I've got all the food prepped and ready for lunchtime 5 minutes early.
Идиома означает способность быстро понимать происходящее, быть умным и способным. Часто используется для описания человека, который внимателен, бдителен и готов к тому, что происходит или вот-вот произойдет.
Define the Russian equivalent of the English idiom steal one's thunder.
He stands up in the stalls, out of his chair, indignant, and exclaims to the entire theatre, "That is my thunder! By God! They would play my thunder, but not my play!" You've guessed it. That was the first night, ladies and gentlemen, that the phrase "to steal one's thunder" entered into the British language.
And an example of this is my older sister. When my mom was pregnant with me, my older sister was so excited that she ran to the neighbor's house and actually stole my mom's thunder. She gave the news that my mom was pregnant, and my mom had wanted to be the one to tell her friend that.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
The first is to steal somebody's thunder. If you steal somebody's thunder, it means that you are taking away the praise and attention of somebody else and putting it on yourself. For example, I made some cupcakes for the party. I thought everyone would be impressed, but then Sandra made a tiramisu and that stole my thunder.
to get the attention, success, etc. that somebody else was expecting, usually by saying or doing what they had intended to say or do.
Adam complained that they wouldn't let his play run, and yet they had stolen his thunder.
Sandy stole my thunder when she announced that she was pregnant 2 days before I'd planned to tell people about my pregnancy.
He was looking forward to telling his family the news and was annoyed to find that his cousin had phoned them and stolen his thunder.
Идиома используется, когда человек говорит или делает что-то, что намеревался сказать или сделать другой человек, тем самым помешав тому человеку получить успех, внимание или похвалу.